In a distant galaxy, where alien empires clashed over power and resources, Earth remained a little-known outlier. Humanity, new to the interstellar stage, was generally dismissed by the larger galactic community as insignificant. But for one species, the HFY, a ruthless, militaristic empire spanning entire star systems, even a tiny potential threat couldn't be ignored. Yet their interest in humanity wasn't sparked by any human advancements or political posturing. Instead, it began with a rumor, a story whispered through the stars of a mysterious, unexpected human resilience. The first to seek humanity's help were the Varik, a peaceful species caught in the HFY's relentless path. Unlike the HFY, who thrived on conquest, the Varik had always maintained a commitment to harmony. But now, hunted to the edges of their territories and nearing extinction, they needed a miracle. Desperation drove them to Earth, their last hope. The Varik diplomat, a frail but dignified creature named Shirit, pleaded with Earth's leaders, explaining the HFY's unstoppable march and how they had ravaged planets, leaving behind nothing but ashes and ruin. In Shirit's trembling voice, the humans sensed both terror and profound respect. The Varik had studied humanity enough to know they were compassionate but also cautious. For humans, who had experienced their share of conflict on Earth, the Varik's story resonated. Humanity's leaders took only a short time to discuss the request. Though they had little to gain and much to risk, the call for help struck a chord with them. Humanity wasn't motivated by ambition or a desire for dominance. They simply saw a people in dire need and felt compelled to help. A contingent of Earth's military personnel was selected to assess the situation. These soldiers weren't heavily armed or equipped with advanced technology, but they possessed something equally powerful, an unwavering sense of purpose. As the human team arrived on the outskirts of the Varik territories, they realized the gravity of what the Varik had told them. The HFY weren't just conquerors, they were ruthless exterminators, leaving no life behind. And as the human soldiers set up a temporary base, the HFY were quick to take note. The HFY had expected Earth to send emissaries, diplomats, or perhaps even offer resources, but they hadn't anticipated Earth would actually commit troops. This development was unexpected, but they didn't see it as a threat. In the minds of the HFY commanders, humanity was a primitive species, barely out of its planetary cradle. To them, the human soldiers were little more than a curiosity, a chance to demonstrate their superiority with ease. Confident in their technological advantage, the HFY gathered their forces, preparing to teach Earth a quick and brutal lesson in power. That night, under the red hue of alien moons, the first encounter took place. The humans were entrenched, setting up makeshift defenses and scouting the terrain. They weren't here for glory or conquest but simply to understand and, if possible, protect the Varik. But when the HFY attacked, they did so with a show of force. They didn't hold back. Their energy cannons crackled to life, firing beams of plasma hot enough to melt through solid steel. They unleashed high-density projectiles designed to obliterate armor and disintegrate flesh, weapons honed through centuries of war across countless systems. As the blasts surged toward the human front lines, the Varik allies held their breath, expecting devastation. They had seen these weapons tear apart ships and soldiers alike, leaving nothing in their wake. But what happened next was nothing short of miraculous. Human soldiers stood their ground as the attacks made contact. Plasma beams that would normally turn beings to ash instead dissipated across their skin, leaving minor burns at most. Kinetic rounds, designed to crush armored exoskeletons, bounced off as though repelled by some unseen force. In that moment, both humans and Varik watched in stunned silence. The soldiers themselves were bewildered. They had braced for pain, perhaps even death, yet they felt only the faintest pressure from weapons meant to annihilate. As the HFY forces continued their assault, frustration grew among their ranks. They fired again, deploying grenades capable of bending gravitational fields and rupturing space-time. Yet, as the explosion settled, human soldiers still stood, unharmed, exchanging looks of disbelief. The HFY, unaccustomed to any resistance, were thrown into confusion. They quickly regrouped, attempting to identify how a supposedly vulnerable species could withstand their might. They tested different frequencies, altered their energy discharges, and even resorted to chemical attacks engineered to dissolve alien biologies. But nothing seemed to work. No matter what they tried, humanity's soldiers remained impervious, their skin seemingly absorbing or deflecting every attack. The Sithrai were witnessing something entirely outside the realm of their experience, a biological anomaly, a resistance they couldn't explain. Meanwhile, the humans began to realize something remarkable was happening. At first, they had chalked it up to luck, maybe an error in the enemy's weaponry. But after withstanding continuous firepower, they started to grasp that there was something unique about their bodies. As they regrouped and assessed the situation, the Varik couldn't contain their awe. Their whispers carried a mix of reverence and astonishment. Humanity, they began to believe, wasn't just a species untouched by this galaxy's conflicts. They were beings who seemed, almost impossibly, immune to its deadliest weapons. Word of this resilience spread quickly through the Sithrai ranks. Their soldiers, bred and trained to feel invincible, now hesitated, their confidence shaken. They didn't know how to face an opponent that defied everything they knew about war. This unarmed species, once regarded as easy prey, now stood like mythic giants, unaffected by the very weapons designed to dominate entire civilizations. As dawn broke over the alien landscape, the human soldiers stood together, no longer just protectors but symbols of something the galaxy hadn't seen before. The Varik, once resigned to extinction, felt a glimmer of hope. Humanity's entry into the galactic stage was unassuming, motivated by empathy rather than power. But in that silent standoff, a message rang clear: humanity, no matter how small or new, would stand unyielding against any force, forging alliances and reshaping the galaxy's understanding of strength in ways no one could have anticipated. The Sithrai's first encounter with human immunity reverberated through their command ranks like a thunderclap. In every previous campaign, their weaponry had obliterated opposition, enemy soldiers vaporized, armor incinerated, fortifications reduced to rubble. But the humans were different. The reports of blasters deflecting off their skins sounded like fiction. Doubts crept in among the lower-ranked soldiers, who whispered of a human curse or some unbreakable earth magic. The Sithrai leadership, proud and relentless, dismissed these notions as superstition. They reasoned that Earth soldiers simply hadn't yet encountered the full might of their technology. So, they strategized, preparing to end this mystery with finality. The Sithrai brought in heavier artillery and top engineers, armed with their highest-grade plasma cannons, neutron blasters, and radiation-based grenades. These were the Empire's war-ending weapons, developed specifically for rapid and total annihilation. An array of specialized Sithrai scientists arrived to monitor the humans, analyzing every possible weakness or flaw. Under strict command, they were told to observe every reaction, every movement. This new human phenomenon needed to be broken down, understood, and crushed. Meanwhile, the human soldiers prepared for the next wave of assault. They hadn't yet figured out the source of their immunity, but morale was high. The Varik were astounded, treating the humans with reverence bordering on awe. The idea that Earth's warriors could withstand the most advanced alien weaponry, not through armor or technology, but simply due to their biological resilience, gave them a newfound courage. No other species had been able to resist the Sithrai's arsenal, yet here the humans stood, seemingly immune to the Empire's terrifying force. The Sithrai forces lined up, their high command ready to end this anomaly once and for all. Orders were given, and they unleashed a barrage of energy beams with increased output, doubling the intensity, designed to tear apart organic matter at the molecular level. But to their utter astonishment, the humans barely flinched. Blasts that would have reduced other species to mere atoms were absorbed and deflected, with soldiers feeling no more than a ripple of pressure. They even began to notice something bizarre. The energy didn't just deflect, it invigorated them, like a faint current running through their bodies, recharging them instead of causing harm. In a rush of desperate curiosity, the Sithrai scientists turned to more complex strategies. They launched biological agents, chemical aerosols designed to break down cellular structures and invade immune systems. They tailored these agents to exploit any possible organic vulnerability, using compounds that had decimated entire alien colonies in previous wars. But the humans emerged unaffected, breathing freely through clouds that should have been lethal. Every attempt was met with failure. As each assault was repelled, the humans themselves grew increasingly intrigued. The Varik allies brought in medics and scanners, and soon they discovered the root of their resilience. Earth's gravitational forces, atmospheric density, and constant exposure to diverse microbial life had forced humans to evolve extraordinary cellular repair mechanisms and robust immune systems. Human biology was inherently adaptive, capable of resisting alien pathogens and adapting to extreme pressures that would overwhelm other life forms. Earth's ecosystems had essentially trained them for resilience that transcended planets, a fortitude that seemed almost supernatural to the HFY. Realizing the scale of this discovery, the human leaders and their Varik allies formulated a new plan. They wouldn't just defend, they would take this immunity and transform it into a strategic advantage. If the HFY's entire arsenal was powerless against humans, then the humans themselves would become the perfect frontline fighters, drawing enemy fire while their allies attacked with precision from behind. Their resilience would become a weapon. The next skirmish was different. Human soldiers advanced without fear, moving straight into HFY lines. The HFY, desperate and visibly shaken, fired relentlessly, deploying their last resort weaponry, but it was as though they were battling a force of nature. The humans pushed forward, unbreakable. This was no ordinary war, it was a revelation. For the first time in their empire's history, the HFY were defenseless, their weaponry turned impotent by nothing more than the very biology of a species they'd dismissed. Fear took root among the HFY soldiers, a fear they'd never known. Panic spread through their ranks as they watched this new kind of warrior advance, unstoppable, indifferent to their deadliest attacks. To their minds, the humans embodied an unstoppable force, a nightmare turned reality. The sight of humans standing unharmed amidst the flames and blasts shattered the HFY's unshakable belief in their own power. The Varik watched with wide eyes, their hope rekindled. This alliance was no longer a simple pact, it was a lifeline. The humans, whom they had once seen as compassionate but powerless, were now a beacon of strength. Together, the humans and Varik pressed forward, pushing the HFY further back, proving that unity, resilience, and adaptation could triumph over sheer force. As the humans advanced, the battlefield took on a new tone. It was no longer the HFY's domain, it belonged to the alliance of humans and Varik, a coalition forged in survival and a common cause. The HFY found themselves retreating, and for the first time in their imperial conquest, they faced the shame of defeat. Humanity had changed the game entirely, leaving an imprint that the HFY, and the entire galaxy, would not forget. The scientists from various allied species, led by human biologists and Varik scholars, were eager to unravel the enigma of humanity's resilience. They worked day and night, conducting tests and analyzing combat footage to understand what rendered the most advanced weapons in the galaxy utterly ineffective. The HFY's failure had perplexed even the most seasoned of their enemies, but to humans, it was simply an extension of Earth's harsh training ground. Through painstaking experiments, they discovered that Earth's unique evolutionary pressures had gifted humans with an unmatched adaptive biology. Earth's high gravity, diverse climates, microbial threats, and atmospheric radiation had shaped human DNA to repair itself at rapid rates, fortifying cells against attacks that would obliterate other species. As each test progressed, it became evident that humanity's resilience was no accident. It was a symphony of natural selection, evolution's ultimate response to a demanding world. One of the first findings showed that human cellular structure held an unparalleled flexibility, one that dampened and distributed energy impacts. This natural diffusion effect weakened any high-energy force, rendering plasma blasts and neutron beams little more than gentle pushes against human skin. What's more, human tissue demonstrated an unexpected capacity to absorb and even thrive off certain energy frequencies, turning lethal impacts into vitalizing pulses. When exposed to alien pathogens and chemical agents that melted through the flesh of other species, human bodies rejected or neutralized the toxins with ease. Their immune systems, honed by generations of exposure to Earth's viral and bacterial onslaughts, displayed an almost immediate adaptive response, creating antibodies at a speed that astonished the Varric scientists. These adaptive responses happened on a genetic level, activating a response system so complex it bordered on the miraculous. The Varric were deeply impressed, especially as more tests confirmed that even extreme environments barely registered as challenges for human biology. Exposure to high temperatures, radiation, or sub-zero climates hardly fazed them. While humans felt discomfort, their bodies showed minimal signs of stress. The HFY, in contrast, had evolved in controlled, stabilized environments. Their reliance on environmental consistency left them vulnerable, never needing to develop the sheer toughness that defined human physiology. As the research deepened, a more profound truth emerged: humans weren't just hard to kill. Their physiology allowed them to adapt dynamically, adjusting to alien weaponry and environments at a rate that was nearly instantaneous. The Varric scientists coined a term for this phenomenon, calling it adaptive immunity, a biological trait so potent that it made humanity nearly immune to non-earthly threats. This discovery became a rallying cry among Allied troops, a symbol of hope that shattered the HFY's psychological grip on the battlefield. Armed with these revelations, the humans and their allies devised a new strategy. They would leverage humanity's biological advantages not just as a defensive measure but as a tactical edge. The humans would become living shields, drawing enemy fire and absorbing energy attacks while the Varric and other allies flanked the HFY, launching precise counterattacks. It was a revolutionary form of warfare, one that transformed the battlefield itself. On the front lines, human soldiers moved forward confidently, shields abandoned, facing the HFY head-on with little more than light armor. Every attack the HFY launched only invigorated the human troops, who absorbed energy strikes and marched forward unscathed. The once dominant HFY began to falter, their soldiers visibly disturbed by what seemed like indestructible opponents. The humans pushed forward, unrelenting, their very presence a psychological weapon that broke the HFY's morale. With each step forward, the humans and their allies capitalized on the HFY's mounting fear. The HFY's ranks grew desperate, firing indiscriminately, their precision faltering under the crushing realization that their most devastating technology had become useless. For the first time, the HFY tasted true vulnerability, a sensation alien to their species, and it spread like a plague through their ranks. The Allied troops moved with a renewed vigor. The Varric, who had once been nearly crushed by the HFY's tyranny, surged forward with newfound courage, inspired by humanity's resilience. This wasn't merely a fight for survival, it was a fight for liberation, a war to topple a once invincible empire brought low by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. News of humanity's immunity and the HFY's failure spread quickly through the galactic network. Once dismissive civilizations began to reconsider their views on Earth and its people. Allied support poured in, with offers of technology, resources, and troops. The HFY Empire found itself under siege not only on the battlefield but politically, as their allies abandoned them, unwilling to risk association with a failing regime. Back on the front lines, the humans stood victorious but vigilant. They knew that the HFY's pride wouldn't allow them to accept defeat easily. Retreating HFY forces regrouped, preparing one final offensive, driven by desperation rather than strategy. But the humans and their allies were ready. With Earth's soldiers absorbing the brunt of every attack, the Allied forces struck with precision and unyielding force, dismantling the HFY's forces piece by piece. By the end, the HFY were left decimated, their empire fractured, their pride shattered. Humanity had transformed a seemingly impossible disadvantage, their lack of advanced technology, into an unparalleled strength. The Alliance stood triumphant, but not just through military might. It was their unity, resilience, and shared purpose that had won the day. For humanity, this victory was more than survival. It was an emergence, a declaration to the galaxy that Earth would not be overlooked or underestimated again. As the last remnants of the HFY Empire were vanquished, the atmosphere among the Allied forces was electric. The thrill of victory was palpable, but so was the anxiety of what lay ahead. The triumph over a formidable enemy had shifted perceptions across the galaxy, yet the Sithrai were far from finished. Their defeat would not go unanswered. Whispers began to circulate of a dark plan, one that could threaten not only humanity but the very fabric of the fragile alliances they had forged. In the aftermath of the battle, diplomatic channels flooded with offers of support from once dismissive civilizations. The Galactic Council, previously indifferent, was now eager to engage with humanity. Delegations from various species descended upon Earth, each seeking alliances or strategic partnerships. Humans, who had once been viewed as a simple species without significant power, were suddenly seen as pivotal players in the galactic stage. Earth was transformed into a hub of negotiations, where discussions of technology exchange and military collaboration took center stage. Meanwhile, back on the battlefield, the remnants of the Sithrai regrouped. Fueled by humiliation and rage, they began to explore desperate measures. Unbeknownst to the rest of the galaxy, the Sithrai had been working on a biological weapon, one specifically designed to target human DNA. This weapon promised to be an ultimate countermeasure against humanity's unexpected resilience. In the dark corners of their laboratories, Sithrai scientists scoured through human DNA samples captured during skirmishes, searching for weaknesses to exploit. As news of these rumors reached the Galactic Council, alarm bells rang across all member species. Humanity had proven itself a formidable ally, but the potential for a biological threat sent waves of anxiety through their ranks. Delegations hastened to Earth, convening in emergency meetings to discuss the implications of a targeted biological weapon. While human resilience had become legendary, the threat of a new Sithrai weapon that could bypass this immunity cast a long shadow over their newfound status. In the meantime, a team of human and Variq scientists began working together to bolster humanity's defenses against this potential threat. They initiated extensive research into the genetic structure of humans, hoping to uncover any vulnerabilities that might be exploited. As the scientists delved deeper into human biology, they marveled at the complexity of the human genome. With every discovery, they built a clearer picture of how to fortify defenses against the Sithrai's rumored biological agent. Simultaneously, intelligence reports indicated that the Sithrai were preparing a coordinated strike. Frantic communication lines buzzed with strategic discussions about countermeasures. The Alliance had to act quickly. Leaders from various species gathered to devise a plan, recognizing that the only way to combat the impending threat was through collaboration and shared resources. An urgency hung in the air, galvanizing efforts to prepare for the next confrontation. The decision was made to establish a protective barrier around Earth, utilizing technology from allied species to create a shield against any biological threat. This barrier would not only provide physical protection but also serve as a psychological deterrent, showcasing the united front of the Galactic Council. Humans worked tirelessly alongside their alien counterparts, sharing insights and technology that facilitated the rapid deployment of this defense system. As preparations continued, Earth's military began training in new tactics designed to outmaneuver any Sithrai assault. Humans adapted quickly, drawing upon their innate resilience to further develop strategies that would counteract any potential biological weapons. Special units were formed, equipped with enhanced protective gear and antidotes developed from the collaborative research. They were ready to face whatever the Sithrai might unleash. Then, as the barrier around Earth neared completion, the Sithrai launched their first wave of attacks. Initial skirmishes were chaotic, with the aliens attempting to penetrate the defenses and gather intelligence on human capabilities. However, the enhanced defensive systems held firm, absorbing the initial strikes and repelling the onslaught. The humans, buoyed by their victories, found themselves invigorated, their spirits bolstered by the unwavering support of their allies. In the midst of the chaos, the intelligence unit intercepted critical communications revealing the Sithrai's plans for the biological weapon. The Alliance had a narrow window to act. Armed with this intelligence, a contingent of human and alien forces was dispatched to infiltrate the Sithrai's stronghold and destroy the laboratory where the biological agent was being developed. The goal was clear: eliminate the threat before it could manifest. The assault was coordinated and executed with precision. As they breached the enemy stronghold, humans and their allies fought fiercely, driven by the collective desire to protect their home and secure their place in the galaxy. Each skirmish pushed them deeper into the heart of the HFY fortress, where they finally located the laboratory. The lab was a sprawling complex, filled with tanks housing genetic samples and vials labeled with ominous warnings. Human and Variq scientists recognized the potential for destruction contained within those walls. The team quickly set to work, planting explosives while securing samples of the biological weapon for further analysis. They moved with urgency, aware that time was not on their side. As the countdown began, the HFY launched a desperate counterattack, trying to reclaim their stronghold. The battle raged fiercely, but the Alliance was prepared. Utilizing tactics honed from their previous encounters, they coordinated their defenses, pushing back against the HFY forces with a ferocity that showcased their newfound confidence. With moments to spare, the team successfully detonated the explosives, collapsing the laboratory in a thunderous explosion that echoed across the battlefield. The shockwave rippled through the HFY ranks, demoralizing them further. The Alliance seized the moment, rallying their forces for a final push against the reeling HFY, who began to retreat in disarray. In the wake of the battle, the Alliance emerged victorious once more. The successful destruction of the laboratory eliminated the immediate threat of the biological weapon, securing humanity's position in the galaxy. The Galactic Council celebrated the cooperation and strength displayed throughout the conflict, heralding a new era of unity among the species. Humanity had not only proven its worth but had also established itself as a cornerstone of intergalactic alliances. As the dust settled, Earth stood not only as a battleground but as a beacon of hope. Humanity's resilience, once underestimated, now defined their place in the cosmos. The partnerships forged in the heat of battle would last for generations, solidifying a foundation of trust and collaboration among diverse civilizations. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united in their commitment to peace and stability in a galaxy that had once overlooked them.